What's up, guys? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's happening with the overall market so far. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that looking at the way we're looking on ES and our futures, right, it's very possible that we do dip a little bit towards this trend line area right here. But then early on during the week, we're going to be looking to see if we could form some kind of bottom. And I think there's going to be another attempt to try to push higher and try to take out this high. If we come short of taking out the high, that could be our sign that the market's getting ready for a pivot for the month of September, which is what typically happens. But I do think there's going to be some kind of like dip in a consolidation, an attempt for us to base before we try to bounce one more time. And then we could be looking for the market to potentially form a top very soon. Now, tomorrow is going to be Monday, September 8th, 2025. At 11 o'clock a.m., we have the consumer inflationary expectations reports. And at 11:30 a.m., we have the 3 and 6 month bill auctions. So we'll see what this leads to, at least moving forward. On top of this, President Trump and his team, they are basically looking for different options to try to keep their tariffs in play, even if the Supreme Court does strike them down. So that's what we're seeing on the news, at least right now. Lots of headlines about that. President Trump also has been threatening higher tariffs on semiconductors, so we'll see if he makes that announcement very soon. That's also going to be affecting the way in which the market moves. Now, for now, because of the fact that ES is trying to form a base here, if we lose 64.50, we could be looking for a bigger dip to 64.12. As long as we hold this, we could attempt to consolidate from a bottom and then rebound a bit to our key fib level. That could take us back down to the low 6,500 area before we end up getting another rejection and a potential pivot. Something like this could be coming. So watch to see if we could form a base around 64.50 or so. And then once we form our base, if we could bounce, we could attempt to run back to the low 6,500s. And then we'll see if we reject or not off those levels. That's going to be very key for how we end up moving. The same thing could be said about NQ. We're also trying to hold our EMAs. If we do end up losing, just hypothetically, around 23,430, that's very close to where our 200 EMA is. Then we're looking for like a dump lower, right? But if we don't lose that, if we kind of like dip here, consolidate, and then what could happen is we try to bounce a little bit. We might try to bounce one more time for 23,800. That's going to be where our key fib level happens to be. But the issue is that there's a left shoulder, head, and right shoulder on NQ and the QQQ, which could be indicative of this right shoulder forming. And then we could still get a big rejection later on. I do think this will likely pan out now. We did try to break out and try to break this high, but we came just short on NQ. And what else is interesting is that the S&P 500, it made a new all-time high, but NQ, the NASDAQ, tech, they came just short. So even if we do consolidate and bounce a little bit, it might just be followed by more downside as we get later into September. So be very, very prepared for that. With that being said, what do I think is going to happen to SPY and the QQQ? I do think we could attempt to bounce one more time, but it depends. If we can't hold 647, we're going to likely dip to 643. If that fails us, we're looking for 642, then 640 as our targets. If we're bullish, we want to get and hold above 647.5. If we hold that, we're looking for 650. I would not be surprised if we kind of like dip a bit, consolidate, and then attempt another bounce, but we might come short of that all-time high. If we come short, that could be a sign that we're about to kind of like pivot like this, and we could be looking for a move lower. This is what I think is going to likely happen, so make sure you watch your levels just to be safe. On the QQQ, the same thing is going on. Some tech stocks are showing some weakness, so this might dip a little bit for the 570 area. If we lose 570, 566 becomes possible, but hopefully we hold 570. And then we try to bounce one more time. There might be some sideways price action between 578 and 570. And then as time goes on, I do think we could eventually start to dip lower because of this head and shoulders right here is a left shoulder, head and right shoulder. We might bounce a little bit before we end up turning, so be very, very careful, at least for now. On the IWM, we also have a bearish divergence. Now, this is still bullish. We're trying to make higher lows. As long as we don't lose 236, we could kind of dip here and then eventually try to push for 240, and we'll see if we pivot off that or not. And like I already talked about ES and NQ, so the market might dip a little bit before it tries to bounce. There might be another bounce attempt, but like I said before, we could be getting ready for a pivot very soon. Bitcoin's kind of flat right here. It is actually trying to bounce a little bit, so that could be a good sign for markets. Once again, that would try to form some kind of base, then we try to slowly bounce back up to about 113,000, and then we'll see how Bitcoin responds. That's likely what's going to happen, at least for now. For stocks like Tesla, keep in mind that Tesla has tough resistance around the 350s. We got one, two, three rejections in the 350s for the last 3 months, but we also like to hold around 330. I would not be surprised if Tesla consolidates between 355 and 347 like this. We just see some sideways price action. And then eventually you want to see it break 355 to break out for 358 in the 360s. If we lose 347, we could be dipping back down to 340 or below, but I do anticipate some consolidation like this between 347 and 355, and we'll see which way we break depending on our news. I think that Nvidia and many other chip stocks are at risk of downside if President Trump imposes higher tariffs on them. So we could see a back test of 169 consolidation before this starts dipping lower. The chart does look a little bit weaker to me, and semiconductors could be leading the market to sell off more. We might consolidate a bit here. We formed a nice wick, and I do think some buyers could try to defend, take us back to the low 170s. But then as time goes on, I would not be surprised if Nvidia and many other chip stocks start to sell off, which could slow down tech. Apple looks like it's going to consolidate for some time around the 240 range before it dips to like 236. So be careful. The market may start off with a little bit of downside before it tries to bounce. Netflix should be testing 1233 to 1224, and we'll see if we bounce. MSTR might be dipping towards 318, and we'll see if we bounce or not. Celsius could be dipping back down to like 57. We'll see if we bounce or not as well. I do anticipate some downside. Supermicro's on a bit of a downtrend. We could be dipping back down to like 39.5, and we'll see if we bounce. Looking at Palantir, we could be dipping back down to about 148, and we'll see if buyers defend. Rivian's going to likely be testing 13.85 to 13.4, and we'll see if we bounce or not. SoFi has 25.09 to 24.72 as our supports, and we'll see if buyers defend. AMD looks kind of weak here. We're rejecting. We also have a gap to fill down here, so I'm going to be looking for 146 to see if we bounce near there or not. For ARM, we could be pushing back up to 141, and we'll see if we bounce, but there is some upside potential. PayPal could be dipping back down to 67.5. Coinbase might actually try to bounce for 304. There might be a temporary bounce coming to our 20 EMA, and we'll see if it rejects. It depends on if we could hold above 300 or not. I see Amazon retesting 228 to 230, and we'll see if we bounce off that area, so look for some downside. Meta will likely retest 746, and we'll see if we bounce. Google may consolidate and push back up for about 240. And then Microsoft could be dipping back down to about 490, and we'll see if buyers defend. The VIX is rejecting here, could be dipping back down to the low 14.5 area before it tries to bounce. This could be indicative that the market might dip a little bit, form some kind of bottom, and eventually try to bounce one more time. I don't think that we're officially ready to dump yet. We might not be. We'll have to see about that. If we start losing critical support, though, of course, the dump is very possible. But what I think is going to happen is that we dip a little bit, and then we're going to make one more attempt to try to take out this high, and we might come short. And that could be marking our pivot. That's when the market might be pivoting. It may not be until like after FOMC when the market starts dumping harder, or it may be a little bit earlier. We'll have to see. But I do anticipate that what typically happens is that the first week of September tends to be like bearish. The second week tends to be decent. And then the last 2 weeks of September tend to be more bearish historically. We started off last week with a big dump. Then we saw a massive bounce. So are we going to see like a small dip before we try to bounce again in the markets? And if we do see some kind of bounce, this could be setting us up to form a top very soon before the market sees a big pivot by mid-September, right? That's what could be setting up. There could be a big pullback coming. I did make a video about that yesterday, and I just wanted to give you guys like an update about that. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I have to upload this video kind of quick because I have a little family emergency. So I'm going to be unavailable today, but I just want to upload this video as fast as I possibly can and just give you guys a quick update for tomorrow. Anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow before market open. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best, and peace out.